If you look around your life, your house, your car, your money in the bank, the phone in your pocket, it all feels like it belongs to you. Ownership is one of the most fundamental ideas in modern society. You work, you earn, you buy, you own. Simple. But what if that idea is no longer true? What if ownership has been quietly rewritten, not through revolutions or wars, but through contracts, regulations, debt structures, and digital systems so subtle that most people don't notice until it's too late? Across the world, governments, corporations, and financial institutions are consolidating control over assets at a pace not seen in human history. Not by force, but by financial architecture. It's a silent asset grab, gradual, systemic, legal, and nearly invisible. You don't lose your property in a single moment. You lose it through 1,000 small mechanisms working together until ownership becomes an illusion. Look at housing. In many major cities, corporations and investment funds own more homes than actual families. BlackRock, Blackstone, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, they're buying entire neighborhoods, paying above market price, squeezing out anyone who would have bought a home to live in. It's not a conspiracy, it's math. Owning real estate generates inflation-proof returns. Renting generates permanent cash flow. With cheap borrowing costs over the past decade, institutional buyers could outbid every ordinary citizen and still turn a profit. People think they're losing homes because prices are rising. In reality, they're losing homes because they're competing against trillion-dollar entities that are playing a completely different game. And as housing becomes financialized, homeownership stops being a milestone of adulthood and turns into a luxury asset, something reserved for those already inside the system. Everyone else? Lifelong renters. Cars followed a similar path. Leasing has overtaken owning in many countries. Subscriptions for features, heated seats, entertainment systems, even horsepower boosts show that manufacturers want you to pay repeatedly for something you thought you bought once. In the future, your car may not fully function if your monthly subscription lapses. Ownership is being divided into layers. You own the physical shell, but companies own the software that makes it actually work. And as vehicles become more digital, the boundary between product and service blurs. You don't own the full vehicle, you license it. Money is undergoing the same transformation. The cash in your wallet is yours. The money in your bank account? Technically, legally, it is not your property. It is a liability of the bank. You are an unsecured creditor. If the bank fails, you stand in line behind larger creditors. This isn't theoretical. In Cyprus, depositors had their accounts frozen and partially confiscated in 2013. In Canada, new bail-in rules allow the government to convert bank deposits into shares during a crisis. In the US, the FDIC openly discussed what would happen if markets froze and banks needed to limit withdrawals. In every Western economy, the trend is the same. Your money is accessible only as long as the system decides it should be. Inflation is another form of asset extraction. It doesn't steal what you have. It steals what your money could have bought. If inflation runs at 10%, your savings lose 10% of their purchasing power without a single law being passed. It's a silent tax, more powerful than income tax because it affects everyone equally and invisibly. People think inflation is an economic accident. More often, it's a political choice. Inflate the debt away, transfer wealth from savers to borrowers, from the public to the state. Debt itself has become a mechanism of control. Student loans create lifetime financial dependency. Mortgage terms stretch from 30 to 40 years. Credit cards trap millions in compounding interest. People don't notice because debt feels voluntary. You sign the papers, you get the money. But over time, the constant weight of repayment means you're working for the lender. You don't realize it, but your paycheck is already divided before it reaches your hands. For governments, this is perfect. Indebted citizens don't revolt. They comply. They chase stability. They cannot afford disruption. Digital platforms push ownership further out of reach. You don't own your movies, your music, your apps, your games. You have access until the license changes, the platform shuts down, or the terms of service are updated. A digital library worth thousands can disappear with one corporate decision. And there is no legal recourse, because you never really owned it. But the most powerful shift is yet to come. The rise of digital identity systems and central bank digital currencies. These tools don't just redefine money, they redefine permission. A CBDC can theoretically expire, be restricted, be tracked, or be tied to specific goods. In such a system, the idea that you own your money disappears. You would simply hold credits that can be activated or deactivated by policy. Ownership becomes conditional. Access becomes programmable. And this isn't science fiction. China already runs pilots. Europe is openly designing frameworks. The United States is exploring prototypes through intermediaries. Once the system is in place, control becomes absolute. Meanwhile, governments are expanding powers through regulations that alter ownership without directly seizing anything. Eminent domain can be used for environmental resets. Zoning laws can be rewritten to force owners to sell. Property taxes can rise until owners are squeezed out. Green compliance regulations can make older homes financially impossible to maintain, pushing people toward renting or selling. Every year, the legal burden of ownership grows. The costs of not owning, renting, subscribing, borrowing generate constant revenue for institutions. The costs of owning generate risk. During crises, the shift becomes even more aggressive. In recessions, foreclosures spike. People lose homes. Institutions buy them. During pandemics, small businesses fail. Corporations absorb their market share. In financial panics, governments expand authority. Citizens relinquish rights for stability. Crises aren't just disruptions, they are mechanisms that accelerate asset consolidation. The phrase, "you will own nothing and be happy," wasn't a prediction. It was an observation of a trend already unfolding, not as a top-down conspiracy, but as a bottom-up shift driven by incentives. Corporations want recurring revenue, governments want control, banks want indebted customers, investors want stable cash flow, and individuals, stressed and overloaded, are willing to trade ownership for convenience. Subscription models, leasing, renting, financing, they make life feel easier while simultaneously eroding autonomy. The future of ownership is moving toward access, not possession, toward renting, not having, toward dependence, not independence. Whether it's land, digital goods, transportation, media, or even identity, the power is shifting from individuals to institutions, slowly, quietly, legally. And once the shift completes, reversing it becomes almost impossible. Because people don't fight for what they never realized they lost. The most dangerous part is that it doesn't feel like losing freedom. It feels like progress. It feels modern. It feels efficient. By the time people understand what happened, that ownership became a luxury. That autonomy became conditional. That control consolidated into the hands of a few, the system will already be locked in place. The silent asset grab isn't a future scenario. It's happening now. Not in one dramatic moment, but in a slow, decades-long migration of power. The question is no longer whether individuals will lose ownership. The question is how much they will still be allowed to access.